Bar Macalans, where in the book the main character is stuck in a swamp with his horse,
Interesting.
and he literally pulls his hair and the horse's hair out of the swamp to safety. And so somehow that translation came to like pulling yourself up by your bootstraps.
Wow, what a story.
I know. I
Wow.
know. So I'm curious, like, have you heard that term, or what's
Yeah.
been your experience with that term, pulling yourself up by your bootstraps?
Yeah, I think that's first of all, I think it's a curse. Um it's just this mythology that you are a solo person. We're not solo persons.
Right. Yeah.
We're connected to everything around us, but we're not taught that. We're taught the opposite of that,
Right.
especially in American culture. Well, I guess I don't know, Western culture maybe.
Yeah.
You know, um, so it's the self-made man, it's the um I can do anything, yeah, yeah, but you need everybody else to
Right.
help you do it. You didn't do it by yourself,
Right. Right.
whether
Right.
you think you did or not. Oh, I made $1 billion. Well, who helped you make $1 billion?
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah. Yeah.
who are all the and see this is to me this addresses like where we are right now in America in politics and you know even social interactivity.
Right.
you know um there's the contingent that uh feels this is mine
Yeah. Yeah.
and you have no right to any of it. My taxes aren't going to go to you. you
Right.
know
Right.
how dare you, and blah blah blah. I made this money all by myself. Well, did you?
Yeah. Yeah.
Did
Yeah.
you really? you
Yeah.
know
Because the term originally was used to overcome impossible odds.
yeah, well, now that's, yeah,
And so I feel like that's a
yeah,
little different. And then
it
I
is.
think at some point in the 19th century, it changed into sort of like this self-reliance and overcoming like diversity, right? Like being self-reliant and sort
Yeah.
of like taking personal responsibility. And I think
Yeah.
that's where it got twisted. And you're right, like no one does anything on their own.
I mean, literally, you don't. I mean, somebody has to um, repair your car, unless you can repair your car yourself. I can't. So, you know, but I think being on the driving is a big example of this.
Yeah.
Like people say, they don't have faith in God or faith in anything or whatever like that. I'm saying, well, you do have faith. You get in your car, you go out, and you have faith that everybody else is gonna drive on the right side of the road, right? You know what I mean? And you have
Or
faith that people
or
are
you
gonna
go,
stop at the stoplight.
or you go to a restaurant and you have faith, for the most part, that no one's going to put any poison in
Right?
your food when you go to the
Exactly.
restaurant, right?
Yeah. And so we're outraged if someone does put something in our, if there's a fly in our food or whatever the thing, or if somebody, doesn't stop at the stop sign, road rage, all of a sudden.
Yeah.
So we are so interconnected.
Which,
But, when we're talking about the original use of the phrase, I agree with that too. You know what I mean? So there's a again, for me, there's a fine line between um, self-reliance, because you do have to rely on yourself. I mean, there are things that you need to do
right,
in your life,
right, yeah,
and I talk about that as your personal path or your what compels you, to get up in the morning and be who you are and blah blah blah, go to work or whatever. Um, so there's a fine line between, yes, there are these things that I need to do, and I need to take responsibility for how my life looks. And, there is a personal accountability involved.
yeah,
And again, if that's your whole identity, then it becomes out of balance.
Yeah. So I got this really interesting little blurb off of entrepreneur.com. And
Cool.
entrepreneur.com says, based on upstarting data in the sense of people who are starting their own businesses.
Yeah.
For individuals who are doing startups, there's probably about 91% of starter ups are funded by angel investors,
Hmm.
5% funded by VCs, which is sort of like venture capital
Hmm.
investment. And then 50% of the startups are funded by personal loans or credits, while 38% receive funding from family and friends. And so, again, that this idea where you have to sort of do it on your own. And there's a portion of where it talks about, you know, various studies have found that the main producers of future wealth is not IQ or hard work, but having initial wealth. So you already have a cushion
Yeah.
that you start off with, where most people don't even have that
Yeah, exactly.
to
Yeah,
start off
exactly.
with. And then those people are like, oh well, I did this on my own. Well, you had a grandpappy that
Yeah.
left you a good chunk of money for you to be
Yeah.
able to start
Yeah.
your business, right? And so not a lot of people are able to say that.
That's absolutely true. And that's the myth that we've bought into, I think, as a culture, you know. Oh, look at that self-made man. Well, have you investigated this self-made person that you're admiring? Um, yeah, because a lot of what we see is um family wealth,
Yeah,
family wealth, and like you say, investors and all that kind of thing. Um, which is not, again, not necessarily a bad thing. I'm not throwing shade on that, but what do you do with that blessing? You've got it. You're starting off with a blessing, you
yeah,
know?
yeah.
Um,
And I also would say within sort of my sphere of work, because I work with individuals who struggle with substance abuse and mental health.
yeah.
I would probably not so much now, but definitely in maybe now too, because with our political climate. But there was a point where individuals who are depressed, there was like, just stop being depressed. Just pull yourself up, just and and I could understand from the sort of uneducated aspect, right? In the
Hmm.
sense of like, oh, just stop using, crack or just stop being an alcoholic, right? Like just
Yeah.
it feels like the person is flawed
Hmm.
for
Hmm.
not being able to do X, Y, and Z. And that's very shaming
It
to
is.
to do that to somebody.
It most certainly is, and it's not helpful in any way, shape, or form.
Uh,
It just makes the matter worse,
yeah,
because the individual. I've experienced that in my life too, where it's just been shame and blame. Around the time I was uh, diagnosed with HIV, I mean, there was so much shame and everything about it, and then of course, you know, um, so and then blame from my doctor when it's finally done. So what's your sexual activity like, and blah blah blah, and why didn't you protect yourself, and these kind of questions, and it's like, well, I thought I thought I was doing safe sex. I thought I was doing whatever needed to be done. I wasn't out here asking for HIV, I was just, yes, I wanted to express myself sexually. Like, okay. Um, so the blame and the shame, just really is it's like a cover. It's like
yeah,
judgment never really helps anyone, unless it's a critique on your artistic project, and then you can take
yeah.
some advice and, make some stuff. But you know what I mean? Like this whole blaming, shaming, judging
Right.
thing.
And I think it goes back to what you said. It's a very sort of Western way of thinking of the individual
Hmm.
has to take on all responsibilities.
Yeah.
If they mess up, it's on them.
Right. if you mess up, um, too bad. Go make some money, get a job. You know, I
Yeah, 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 yeah,
mean,
yeah, yeah,
it's we've strayed so far from community,
yeah,
we
yeah.
really have. And that when you care about each other in community, and I mean even just the community where you live, I mean it doesn't have to, you don't have to separate yourself out into my spiritual community or this, and we have all those communities. However, I'm really looking at what is my day-to-day community, and can I show compassion, as I go about my day. Like, so, I'm going to get gas at the station. I go in, blah, blah, blah. How's, telling the person at the counter, how's your day? Well, it's really horrible, actually. And then I take a couple of minutes and like, well, I'm really sorry to hear that, just something like that, which for me makes me feel like I'm a part of this community that I live in,
Um,
So I go back to the gas station, it's a particular gas station, a particular person, and I go back to it, so how's your day doing? You know what? It's really going a lot better. And I appreciate you, asking me the other
yeah,
day how I felt.
yeah,
That's community building.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
And I think we've strayed so far from that. It's just all about get out of my way. You're in my way.
Or feeling like, like someone's gonna pull something over you, right? So
Yeah,
if you are responsible for your own whatever,
yeah,
no one can take advantage of you, right? Because
yeah.
it also indicates that that you will not be a victim. Uh,
Right,
that
right.
you will be the the what's that term where you're sort of the agency of your own life, or sort of like having that direction for your own life.
Hmm.
And like you're saying, like, we live in a society that is so isolating
Isolating. That's the word I was looking for. Yeah, yeah.
that we don't really want to take the time to
Hmm.
to know our neighbor, or
Yeah,
or
yeah,
or because again, like we were sort of talking about, we're so obsessed with the hustle
yeah,
of what it means to be successful,
yeah,
that we're trying to achieve perfection in a way where it's one, it's not sustainable, and two, it's
right,
not for everybody, because
right.
there's a certain segment of the population where entrepreneurship, in the sense of um, the hustle, makes sense, right? Like you sort of have to be narcissistic, you sort of have to be
Hmm.
self-centered,
Yeah.
you sort of have to be egocentric. Like
Hmm.
it's a very selfish
Yeah,
way of moving through the world.
yeah, yeah,
And it's not healthy. I don't think it's
yeah.
healthy.
Yeah, I hear you there. The standard entrepreneurial thing, I guess, that it just doesn't work for me. I mean, in terms of, well, like I said before, so I'm an artist. I need an audience because, why make art? Um, However, the way that we've been taught about that kind of expression is either you have to be a big, huge household name celebrity, or you're an entrepreneurial artist who just hits it every day with an email to your email list and your, you know, videos on Facebook or YouTube or whatever, your reels every day, and you do it every day, and you're just like blah 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 blah. And I did try to do that for many years, and I felt like you just described, egotistical, selfish, all of those things. Um, and I didn't like that. I didn't like that feeling, you know. I wanted to be expansive and to share something that brings me joy. And so that's where I am now. is like, okay, I'm just going to create and share with folks what brings me joy. Like my Sunday night podcast and my Wednesday night class, which is not recorded or anything. Um, but my Sunday night is, and so I post that on Facebook and stuff just because I'm proud of it, because I want to share it with you. And you'll either see it or not, or whatever, respond or not, or whatever. And that's okay. And do I make money from it? Well, yeah, I actually do. Um, it's not, but people donate, I mean, because they appreciate my work,
Yeah, yeah.
and so I feel like the push, push, push is just not for me anymore. I can't really do that.
Yeah, I think for me, I'm learning and realizing that there is a part of me that wants to appear perfect.
Yeah, yeah,
There,
yeah,
there is a part of me that wants to appear like I have my shit together.
yeah, 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 yeah,
And not saying that, like I'm seriously dysfunctional, but like
yeah, yeah,
I could get up in the morning, I could go to work and sort of, maintain my job and sort of take care of myself and, take care of my studio.
mhm.
Um, but there is sometimes feeling like probably should be doing more. I
Yeah,
I probably should be making more money.
yeah, yeah,
Like like the biggest fear, I'm sure everybody has this, to a certain degree. Like the biggest fear is I've gotten all of this education and then, something tragic, and you can't predict
right,
tragedy.
right,
And I think that's the fear I have, is the
yeah,
unknown of
yeah,
what could happen since I've been so good, right?
yeah,
I've been a good boy, right?
yeah,
Like,
yeah,
I
yeah,
got the degree. They said to go to school to get the
yeah,
degree. I got that, right?
yeah,
I'm in, I was lucky enough to be able to immediately get into a job that's in my field.
mhm,
Um, but I also feel like I've also sacrificed relationships
mm,
because I live a very sort of, I don't mind sharing this. I live a very sort of like independent life.
mhm,
And I think to a certain degree it's by design.
yeah,
And I because I've been so focused on school and in my career, and
yeah,
and as a queer person and a person of color living in Vermont, that's like very isolating.
yeah, 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 yeah,
And
I can
and,
see that would be, yeah,
and I've been living in Vermont for the past 26 years.
yeah, a long time, yeah,
Yeah, very long time. And
yeah,
and and the worry has always been, um I'm not I'm not doing enough.
right,
I should be doing more.
yes,
And literally putting that down has been so emotionally wrenching that I'm like, how did I get here? Like
yeah,
what was the story I was telling myself
yeah,
that I needed to be so productive in a way where I could shield myself from my own internal wounds, right? I could sort of, guard my heart where I won't be vulnerable with anybody because I will have all of these things to protect me from that. And I think that's part of what, I'm hearing you say, is when you go to the gas station, you're making that connection.
yeah,
You're allowing yourself to be vulnerable in a safe way for
yeah,
somebody to sort of share themselves.
yeah,
And I don't think we're taught that lesson.
no,
At least, from this perspective, I don't think I ever, because I also grew up in a very sort of religious household, and,
yeah,
I think for a while my mom wanted me to become a pastor.
oh,
Uh,
yay. Well,
but
you are in some way, essentially,
yeah,
because you minister to people, I
right.
mean, you are really doing that work, so yeah.
And 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 I think I'm also realizing, like, with sort of like this statement of pulling yourself by your bootstrap, it also asks you to not be scared,
Yeah.
right? Don't be scared of life,
Yeah.
you know. And I don't know how you can move through life without being scared.
Right. Yeah. It's unrealistic. So, so fear is a part of the human experience. And there's a way to experience fear, um, again, that can be enlightening rather than debilitating. Um, which I've been in and out of for so many years as a performer and this, that, and the other and all that. And then, um, when Glenn passed, experiencing a whole new wave of fear-based thinking, like, oh my God. Um, Stuff like, well, Glenn was so protective of me, you know, and, the way I dressed, the way, whatever. He loved it. He loved me. And he would protect me when we would be out on the street from people looking at me. He'd be like, excuse me, do you have a problem? Like things like that. Where I remember we were on a tour of the South and we were at like a Shoney's or some kind of thing like that. And the next table was having a conversation about me, right? So I got up to go to the bathroom and Glenn heard um, somebody say, which bathroom are they going to use? I should follow them and make sure they use the right bathroom. And he told me this when I came back, but he got up and went to that table and had a conversation with them and it shut them down. And he wasn't being like, fuck you, you little bitch. He wasn't that.
Yeah,
He
yeah.
was just, what's the problem here? Kind of thing. And so now when he passed, I didn't have that protection, right? So I'm sitting here on my property, I mean, I'm not off the end of a dirt road somewhere in like, whatever. I'm in a little village, but I'm like, I'm scared. I mean, like, um, I dress the way I dress. I do the things I do. I walk out of my house. Like, is everything okay? Am I safe? I have a Trump supporting, person over here. I have somebody else over here who doesn't really interact with me very well. It's all okay. Nobody's in anybody's face and hurting anyone. It's just, okay, you're doing your life. You're doing your life. I'm right here. I'm doing my life. But am I safe to be here? And so I realized that I had this big, huge fear. And what occurred was I surrendered it.
Mm,
And I was like, okay, I'm just going to experience this fear. I'm
mm,
not going to try to push it away.
mm,
I'm just going to experience it. And in that experience of it, not being afraid of feeling fear, not being fearful of feeling fear, um, I found a lesson there. I found some really good lessons there. I found out how much I am loved and appreciated in the world. I found out um, that as I make new friends, people embrace me and love me for who I am, no matter what I'm dressed like that day or whatever. Um, and